as Professor Van Helsing. In reality, actors Christopher Lee and Peter Cushing. Here seen under the direction of Alan Gibson during the making of the latest and certainly most up-to-date resurrection of the deadly Transylvanian in Dracula, A.D. 1972. The resounding presence of today's transatlantically successful rock group, Stoneground by name, reaffirms the film title's assertion of mod modernity. These attractive party crashers you will find are the contemporary devotees of Dracula. They are led by Johnny Alucard. What is it about that name? Descendants, they tell us, of Dracula's greatest disciple. Naturally, their elders and betters are less than pleased. So what's to do but call for help? But here's one of their elders who'll better them at almost any deviltry, just as soon as he gets his fangs in. Indeed, Christopher Lee has loomed all 6 feet 4 inches of him through the prize horror roles since he first lurched into dominance as the monster in The Curse of Frankenstein. Little wonder that this genuinely scholarly and mild-mannered gentleman, fluent in 8 languages and deriving his descent from one of the oldest Italian noble families, has been crowned Prince of Terror. He defers graciously to the late Boris Karloff as king. At home in London with his wife, actress Birgit, and 9-year-old daughter, Christina, the aura of monstrosity is much diminished. Here the scholar comes to the fore. But are not even these lucubrations ever so slightly tainted with that major preoccupation?
I've been to the country where he lived. I have been to the ruins of his castle. I have seen the monasteries and been there that he endowed. And I can assure every one of you who is listening or who is watching that Vlad V, Tsepesh, Dracula, did exist.
Even the prince must be up and out into the frosty crack of foggy dawn for another meeting with the unrelenting Van Helsing and his ubiquitous stake. It's enough to give a vampire heartburn. Director Gibson shows him how to do it. He's had several tries, you'll remember. Maybe he'll do the job right this time. After all those monsters Christopher Lee has played, Fu Manchu, the Mummy, Dr. Jekyll, Frankenstein, his favorite, and that of audiences around the world, is still the Count with the Curious Taste. He's back again in Dracula, A.D. 1972. And steak or no steak, we have a premonition it's not for the last time.
Gunther Dedmund here, and I just wanted to tell you about our website, Basement Sublet of Horror.com. You need to go take a look at it. There's free collector cards, there's a schedule, there's a history of our show. There's so much information there. It's just crammed with photos and pictures and all kinds of things. You should take a look there. Anyway, it's Basement Sublet of Horror.com.
Ride of the Gorilla with Barbara Payton, Lon Chaney, Raymond Burr, and Tom Conway. The dramatic story of a strange curse that brought terror to a man and frenzy to a woman in love.
Don't go away.
You do love me, don't you? That's all I need to know. Well, you're standing in my way, and Dina's. We love each other. What are you going to do about it?
Did you see this animal?
Yes,
I have seen the animal. It walks in his hind legs.
Like a man?
No, like a beast that walks like a man.
Oh, let's go back, Barney, please.
I'll never go back. Never.
Stop.
Go on. Why don't you shoot? You can't miss.
Barney!
Here we have a quiet little motel, tucked away off the main highway, and as you see, perfectly harmless looking, when in fact, it has now become known as the scene of the crime. This motel also has, as an adjunct, an old house, which is, if I may say so, a little more sinister looking, less innocent than the motel itself. And in this house, the most dire, horrible events took place. I think we can go inside because the place is up for sale, although I don't know who's going to buy it now. In that window on the second floor, the single one in front, that's where the woman was first seen. Let's go inside. You see, even in daylight, this place still looks a bit sinister. Now, it was at the top of these stairs that the second murder took place. She came out of the door there and met the victim at the top. Of course, in a flash, there was the knife, and in no time, the victim tumbled and fell with a horrible crash. I think the back broke immediately and hit the floor. It's difficult to describe the way that the twisting of the well, I won't dwell upon it. Let's come upstairs. Of course, the victim, or should I say victims, hadn't any conception as to the type of people they would be confronted with in this house, especially the woman. She was the weirdest and the most... Well, let's go into her bedroom. Here's the woman's room, still beautifully preserved. And the imprint of her figure on the bed where she used to lay. I think some of her clothes are still in this wardrobe. The son's room, but we won't go in there because his favorite spot was the little parlor behind his office in the motel. Let's go down there. This young man, you had to feel sorry for him. After all, being dominated by an almost maniacal woman was enough to drive anyone to the extreme of, well, let's go in. Well, I suppose you'd call this his hideaway. His hobby, as you see, was taxidermy. Crow here, an owl there. Now, an important scene took place in this room. There was a private supper here. And, oh, by the way, this picture has great significance because, let's go along to cabin number 1. I want to show you something there. All tidied up. The bathroom. Well, they've cleaned all this up now. Big difference. You should have seen the blood. The whole place was, well, it's too horrible to describe. Dreadful. And I'll tell you, there's a very important clue was found here. Down there. Well, the murderer, you see, crept in here. Very slowly. Of course, the shower was on. There was no sound. And,
I'll return with you next week with another movie for you on the Basement Sublet of Horror. And until that time, I will say good night, my friends.